It seems that every few weeks, something new unfolds in the ongoing story of Sean Diddy Combs. For many of us who have followed his rise from music mogul to global celebrity, it's still surreal to see his name connected to a courtroom rather than a concert stage. But here we are again, and this time, it's about what some are calling one of his boldest legal moves yet. Reports say Diddy has now asked the courts to fast-track his appeal, pushing for a quicker hearing instead of waiting through the normal slow legal process. According to documents filed by his attorney, Alexander Shapiro, Diddy doesn't want to wait around for months or years. He wants his case heard right away, and he's asking the courts to speed everything up. For anyone who remembers how confident and composed Diddy used to appear in public, this sudden rush feels like a sign of deep frustration. The papers describe a man who is tired, angry, and desperate to move on from the cold walls of the federal detention center he's currently in. What's more surprising is that the government has agreed to this request. Usually these things are fought over, delayed, or denied. But this time, prosecutors are not standing in the way. That fact alone has people wondering, why are they fine with it? Maybe, as some suggest, they just want this entire chapter closed once and for all. Maybe everyone is simply ready to move on. Here's what the timeline looks like according to the court filing. Diddy's lawyers will submit their opening argument and official appeal paperwork by December 23rd of this year. Then the government's response, or opposition brief, will be due by February 20th, 2026. After that, Diddy's team will get one more chance to reply on March 13th, 2026. Finally, the oral hearings, where lawyers from both sides stand before the court to argue their points, are expected to begin in April 2026. If all of this goes forward as planned, that April could become a major moment, almost like a second trial. And if the appeal succeeds, some insiders think Diddy might be released much earlier than people expected. Others, though, believe this might just drag him into another exhausting legal battle that could last months. Either way, it's clear that he wants to be out and fast. People close to the situation describe Diddy as restless, pacing in his cell, deeply unhappy with life behind bars. Reports say that he has been pushing his lawyers day and night, insisting that they fight for him on every front. He's not only asking for a reduced sentence, he's also challenging the conviction itself. That means he isn't just saying the punishment was unfair. He's saying the entire judgment was wrong from the start. For many, this shows that Diddy truly believes he was treated unjustly and wants to clear his name completely. But for others, it feels like denial, a refusal to accept what has already been decided. In the legal documents, Diddy's team wrote that there's good cause to expedite the appeal because he has already served about 14 months of a 15-month sentence. They also mentioned his possible eligibility for early release through certain rehabilitation and reentry programs. Basically, they're arguing that if the appeal isn't fast-tracked, it might end up being pointless, because by the time it's reviewed, he'll already have served most or all of his time. That's one of the main reasons the court might agree to move quickly. For many longtime followers, it's a strange contrast. Here's a man once known for throwing lavish parties, signing chart-topping artists, and building empires, now arguing over dates, documents, and technical details inside a courtroom. The same drive that made him a global icon seems to have transformed into sheer determination to fight his way out of confinement. But beneath all of that, some say, is fear. The fear of being forgotten. The fear of losing control over a story he once commanded. Those who've seen Diddy's public appearances over the years might remember his confident smile and his ability to turn any negative headline into a comeback moment. But this time, things are different. There are no flashing cameras, no glamorous award shows, no red carpets, just time, silence, and the weight of reality. And perhaps that's what's making him so restless. For someone who built his life on momentum and motion, being locked in a small room with no schedule, but waiting can feel unbearable. When his lawyer Alexander Shapiro filed the latest motion, it seemed like another chapter in what's become a long legal saga. The documents made one thing clear: Diddy's not just asking for leniency, he's challenging the very foundation of his conviction. That's why this case has drawn so much attention. It's not about a minor appeal or a procedural fix. It's a direct challenge to the entire verdict. If the court agrees to even review it, the discussion could reopen many sensitive topics that the public thought were already settled. The most striking part, however, is that the government didn't oppose his motion. In legal terms, that's called an unopposed motion, and it means the other side doesn't have an issue with what's being requested. That's rare, especially in high-profile cases like this. For some observers, That's a sign that the prosecutors just want to wrap things up quickly and move on. For others, it might indicate that they're confident nothing will change, no matter how fast it's heard. Either way, the next few months are going to be crucial. If the schedule holds, by the spring of 2026, we'll see a new wave of arguments, statements, and maybe even public appearances from Diddy's legal team. Many are already calling it Diddy's second trial. And while it might not carry the same spectacle as the first one, it could decide the rest of his legal future. For now, though, the man behind the music waits. He's pacing his cell, watching the clock, counting the days until December when his lawyers will make their first big move. The fast-track request might have surprised everyone, but for Diddy, it might be his last attempt to reclaim some control. To feel, even for a moment, like the man who once ruled stages, not steel bars. Whatever comes next, one thing is certain, the story isn't over. And as April 2026 approaches, the world will once again be watching to see whether this latest gamble brings him freedom or just another chapter in a story that seems impossible to end. As the news of Diddy's fast-tracked appeal spread, it sent ripples through the entertainment world. For years, the man had been known as a symbol of success, a businessman, a producer, a showman. But now, his public image was replaced by something else entirely, a man behind bars, clutching onto his last chance at redemption. According to people close to him, the frustration in that small prison cell has reached a boiling point. He's tired of the endless waiting, the lack of control, and the weight of his own thoughts. When you've spent decades calling the shots, being told when to wake up, eat, or sleep becomes unbearable. Those who've seen him lately describe a man restless in spirit, pacing back and forth, trying to keep his mind busy, but always circling back to the same thought. I shouldn't be here. It's that same mindset that has fueled this urgent appeal. He wants to move things forward as fast as possible, no matter what it takes. His lawyer, Alexander Shapiro, is said to be working tirelessly, crafting every argument and preparing to face one of the toughest legal challenges of his client's career. What makes this case especially remarkable is that Diddy isn't just fighting the length of his sentence. He's also fighting the conviction itself. That's not a small step. It's the equivalent of saying, the entire case against me was wrong. Most inmates simply try to reduce their sentences, but Diddy's strategy is far more ambitious. He's asking the court to re-examine everything, from how the case was built to how it was decided. In his mind, justice hasn't been served yet. Legal experts say that's a risky move. Appeals can be complicated, expensive, and emotionally draining. They often take years, and very few end in complete reversals. But Diddy seems determined to take that chance. Maybe it's pride. Maybe it's belief. Maybe it's both. Either way, this decision reveals something about the man behind the celebrity, his refusal to accept defeat. Even now, when many have turned away or stopped believing, he still thinks there's a way back. The documents his legal team filed explain why he wants to speed things up. They argue that waiting too long could make his appeal meaningless, since he's already served most of his time. In other words, if the appeal takes 2 years to process, he might already be out by then, and the decision wouldn't change anything. That's why he's pushing for action now, before the time runs out. In the midst of all this, something unexpected happened. The government didn't object. They agreed to the faster schedule. Normally, the prosecution would want to slow things down, carefully reviewing every detail. But not this time. This strange cooperation between both sides caught many people off guard. For some, it's a sign that everyone is ready to close this chapter quickly. For others, it's a quiet acknowledgement that Diddy might have grounds worth revisiting. Whatever the reason, it's a rare situation where both the defense and prosecution want the same thing: to move forward. Behind the legal words and timelines, though, lies a deeply human story. Diddy's frustration isn't just about his legal status. It's about what this moment represents. For a man who once had the world at his fingertips, being confined to a small space feels like losing his very identity. His entire life was built on movement. Music videos, world tours, business meetings, parties, and performances. Now that energy has nowhere to go. The silence of a cell can be louder than the cheers of a crowd when it forces you to face who you really are. Sources close to his legal team say he's also been struggling emotionally. The walls are closing in, the food is poor, and the long nights feel endless. He's been described as frustrated, impatient, and at times angry. Angry at the system, angry at his lawyers, and perhaps even angry at himself. It's a side of him that few people have seen before. To the public, he was always confident, smiling, untouchable. Now, stripped of all that power and glamour, he's just another man trying to make sense of his mistakes and the world's judgment. But what's truly surprising is how this legal move has reignited discussions about his past. Every time new documents are filed, old stories resurface. Every headline brings back memories of past controversies, relationships, and business decisions. It's as if the entire history of his career is being replayed in slow motion, piece by piece. And yet, through it all, he's staying quiet, letting the papers and his lawyers speak for him. For someone once famous for his words and charisma, that silence speaks volumes. Observers say Diddy's appeal could also test the limits of the justice system itself. Appeals like this force the courts to look back, re-examine old evidence, and question prior decisions. It's not easy. Judges must balance fairness with finality. They know the world is watching, but they also know the rules must remain the same for everyone. In that sense, Diddy's case has become about more than just one man. It's about whether the system itself is willing to give a second chance, even to someone whose fame has both helped and hurt him. If the judge accepts the proposed timeline, oral arguments will start in April 2026. That hearing could last days or even weeks. Lawyers will debate every detail, the evidence, the sentencing, the intent, and the fairness of it all. Some are already calling it Diddy's second trial, not because it's officially a new case, but because of how much it will resemble one. There will be new witnesses, new testimony, and new interpretations of old events. And yet, even with all that, no one knows how it will end. Appeals are unpredictable. Sometimes they bring surprising victories. Other times, they only confirm what was already decided. But one thing is clear: Diddy is not giving up. He's holding on to the same stubborn determination that helped him climb from nothing to the top of the music world. Whether that determination leads him to redemption or more heartbreak remains to be seen. For many people watching from the outside, especially those who grew up during his musical rise, this situation feels almost unreal. To see someone who once seemed larger than life now trapped in such uncertainty makes you realize how fragile fame can be. Success, after all, doesn't protect anyone from consequence. Life has a way of reminding us that no matter how high we climb, we're still human. As the countdown continues toward December and April, Diddy's story remains one of contradiction. A man who once had everything, now fighting for one thing only: freedom. Whether you see him as guilty, misunderstood, or simply broken by his own choices, there's no denying the emotion behind this moment. It's the kind of story that reminds us how quickly everything can change, and how some people will fight until their very last breath to rewrite their ending. As winter slowly turns to spring, Diddy's story keeps unfolding like a long, uneasy song that refuses to end. Each new filing, each update from his lawyers, adds another verse to a tune that many thought was already finished. The man who once defined confidence and control is now waiting on the mercy of the calendar. December for the brief, February for the response, March for the reply, and then April 2026 for the moment that could decide everything. For dates on a page, but for him they represent hope, fear, and the fragile dream of freedom. Those who've spent time around him say he's not the same person he was even a year ago. The walls of confinement change a man, especially one who is used to movement, attention, and luxury. Behind those cold walls, the lights go out early, and there's nothing to do but think. Think about choices, friends who stopped calling, moments that can't be undone, and the public that no longer sees you as untouchable. For Diddy, that silence has become its own kind of punishment, the sound of everything he once controlled slipping away. Reports say that he's been growing more anxious. Every delay feels like another lifetime. He's told his lawyers to push harder, file faster, and demand more. That sense of urgency comes from deep frustration, not just with the system, but with himself. He wants to rewrite the narrative, to prove that he's more than the mistakes or accusations that follow his name. It's that same determination that made him a mogul, now turned inward, burning with impatience. And yet, no matter how loud his demands may sound in legal documents, the reality is still the same. He's inside, and the world outside has moved on. Music, fame, and public attention fade quickly. The industry he once ruled now belongs to a new generation. But behind the bitterness, there's still a spark, a belief that maybe, just maybe, this appeal could change everything. That belief is what keeps him going. The emotional contrast between his old life and his current one couldn't be greater. Once surrounded by luxury, he now wakes to the echo of heavy doors. Once surrounded by laughter, he now sits in quiet corners with thoughts that won't leave him alone. It's a humbling transformation. And whether it's redemption or denial that drives him, it's clear that the man who once seemed unstoppable is learning what it means to wait. His lawyers have pointed out that he's already served over a year of his sentence, and with certain rehabilitation programs like the RDAP and First Step Act, he might be eligible for early release. But Diddy isn't interested in just leaving prison early. What he truly wants is vindication, to walk out not as a man released on time, but as one who claims he should never have been there at all. That's the emotional core of this entire saga. Observers who once followed his career with admiration now find themselves divided. Some say this fight is a sign of strength, that he's not giving up on himself. Others say it's stubbornness, an inability to accept responsibility. But regardless of which side you take, it's impossible not to see the human side of it all. A man who built a kingdom from nothing is now staring down the limits of power and influence. Money can buy great lawyers, but it can't buy peace. In quieter moments, according to sources close to him, Diddy still reaches out to his family. He talks to his children, offers advice, and tries to stay involved in their lives from a distance. They've stood by him publicly and privately, even when the world's opinion turned harsh. That, more than anything, might be his lifeline. The reminder that no matter how much he's lost, there's still something waiting for him beyond the bars. Family love has a way of softening even the hardest hearts. Still, not everyone in his world believes this story will have a happy ending. Some think the appeal will only reopen old wounds. April 2026 could bring intense public attention, fresh headlines, and painful memories. For those who once worked with him or cared for him, the idea of reliving it all again is exhausting. But for Diddy, it's necessary. He wants to face the storm again if it means even a small chance at clearing his name. In the end, it's not just about a courtroom, it's about legacy. Diddy knows his career, his image, and his future all depend on what happens next. He's aware that no amount of music, business success, or fame can erase a criminal conviction. If this appeal doesn't go his way, the story will be sealed. But if it does, even partly, he'll have a chance to tell his side. Perhaps the story he's been holding back all along. Some believe this entire ordeal has changed him. That behind the frustration, there's a man quietly reflecting on the people he's hurt, the choices he's made, and the empire he built. Whether he feels regret or simply frustration over losing control, only he truly knows. But one thing is clear. He's not ready to accept that this is where his story ends. That fight, that stubborn willpower, is what keeps him going day after day. As the days count down toward April 2026, the world waits. Will the judge grant the appeal hearing exactly as requested? Will the arguments bring new revelations or just confirm what's already known? No one can say for sure. But one thing's certain, Diddy's determination hasn't faded. The same energy that made him a star now drives him to battle the system that holds him. In the quiet of his cell, he still dreams of freedom. The sound of a city outside, the touch of sunlight, the noise of a crowd cheering again. For now, all he can do is imagine it. The lawyers will argue, the judge will decide, and time will do what it always does, move forward. Whatever happens in April 2026, it will mark a turning point. Either the end of his legal struggle, or the beginning of yet another chapter. For his fans, for his critics, and for those who simply remember the music, this story is more than a legal battle. It's a reminder that fame can fade, power can crumble, and yet hope, that small, stubborn spark, can survive even behind locked doors. As one journalist quietly put it, Diddy's no longer fighting for his empire, he's fighting for himself. And in that sense, maybe we're seeing the most honest version of him yet. Not the celebrity, not the mogul, but the man who refuses to give up, even when everything else has been taken away.